when you go 2-1 against the Colorado Rockies, and not only do you lose a game to the Rockies, but in 2 of the 3 games, the offense is completely non-existent. At what point into this season, I know we're, just 9 games in, at what point into the season do we look at it and go, okay, this is a red flag, this offense?
Yeah, I think that disappointment element is the scoring, 9 runs in the first 3 innings, and then 4 runs in the next, got to do quick math here, 25 innings.
25,
yeah. I think that's the disappointment factor of it, which kind of makes sense. I think it's early enough in the season where I'm still looking at the positive side of it of, okay, you haven't gotten a ton from the guys at the top of the order, but they're still in this position. They're above 500. And granted, they've played 2 teams that are, let's say, probably no way they're making the playoffs this year in the Nationals and the Rockies. And the Rangers are kind of in the middle of trying to figure out what they are. But I'm taking the positive side of it of, hey, you've got the guys at the bottom of the order that are hitting, and that's enough to get you through against some teams that you are clearly better than. Now, when you start to play teams that, you aspire to be among and are not the Nationals and Rockies, you're going to need Bryce Harper to not hit 130. You're going to need Kyle Schwarber to be above 200. You're going to need more consistently productive at-bats from Trey Turner, although he had a better weekend than he did that first week. So I don't think it's a problem yet. It is a warning sign, and I think it's a warning sign that people already know, which is, hey, this offense could be feast or famine, and we've seen 2 straight postseason famines. So I think for a lot of people, it's probably going to be that, oh, this is why I'm not getting totally invested in this, because it's the same old stuff.
Now, I kind of am with you on this, but the one thing that I feel like I can express slightly more concern is the fact that through 9 games, the best pitcher that they faced, best starting pitcher that they faced, is probably Nathan Eovaldi, right? I mean, you can maybe argue who they hit, right? And you say maybe argue Mackenzie Gore, but I mean, it's probably Eovaldi, right? I would say. Okay. That's a concern because they're struggling offensively against mediocre to below average pitching. And you worry what's going to happen when they face teams who actually have real starting pitchers. And that's the one thing I look at Matt, and I go, yeah, but because the bottom of the order, these guys are hitting, but will they continue to hit at this pace against better pitching? And then if your best hitters are not hitting the bad pitchers, what are they going to be like against the good? That's the kind of thing. I sit there and go, okay, there might be something to be concerned about here. I'm not there yet with you. I'm with you. But that's the one thing I sit there and go, let's bookmark this and get back to it, because I think that there's a possibility that there could be a concern. Yeah,
and they dodged Logan Webb this week in San Francisco, and they're going to get, I don't know how much of Robbie Ray is. I don't know how much of Robbie Ray is left, but how much is left in the tank there necessarily. But yeah, it's gonna definitely come up on them at some point that you can't be making Mackenzie Gore look like Chris Sale. That's kind of a problem. You can't be struggling against Zach Littell and some of these guys in the way that they have, because when push comes to shove, the Dodgers aren't throwing Michael Lorenzen out there for you to beat up. I think because it's early, it's early and the sample sizes are what they are. I think what's important is that for some of the guys that are hitting, especially towards the bottom of the order, you're seeing good process and not just, Adolis Garcia is hitting the ball hard. He's not just getting hits. He's hitting the ball really hard. I think Justin Crawford's approach through the first 9 games of his major league career has been really good. You're seeing what you wanted to see from Bryson Stott and Brandon Marsh, which was the continuation of the good things they were doing at the end of last year to balance out really bad starts. So I think the underlying numbers for a lot of those guys are strong. Um, we were talking with Rob Thompson on game 6 of the season, and he already brought up the back of the baseball card already, which felt like a little early to bring up the back of the baseball card. But that's the argument with Trey and Bryce and Schwarber and all those guys. I maybe feel a little uncomfortable bringing up that argument that this quickly in the season. But yeah, it is something to watch at this point.
Yeah, and maybe it really comes down to this, Matt, because Trey has he actually wasn't terrible against the Rockies. He actually now leads the Phillies with 11 hits. He's hitting 289. So maybe Trey was just his start was slow, but not ridiculously so. It really comes down to the fact that Kyle Schwarber has struck out 14 times in 32 at bats. Now, does have 3 home runs, does have 2 doubles. His OPS is still 897. So the productivity is there, but the batting average is low and the 14 strikeouts are unbelievably high. Bryce Harper hasn't done it basically anything. He's hitting 139. He's not walking like he said he wanted to. He's only walked 3 times in 9 games. A lot of weak contact, 538 OPS. And Alec Boehm's hitting 176, 547 OPS. Is it really more the struggles of those few guys that is making us look at it and say, okay, the team's not hitting, when we could look at everybody else and go, all right, they're at least doing what you wanted to see out of them?
Yeah, I think it's that. Obviously, I mean, this team's going to go as far as the guys at the top are going to take them, right? That's what it kind of comes down to. And I think part of it, to get back to the approach part of it, is that I think the approach from some of these guys at the top has been terrible. I mean, Trey is hitting better, absolutely, in that Colorado series, but so many men on base and just hacking at the first pitch, to the point where Rob Thompson proactively defended that from him the other day of, I don't mind that he swings at the first pitch. Well, no one asked, but that's probably why it was top of mind, because take a pitch with the bases loaded once. I think Trey Turner's a good enough handler of the bat that he can hit with 1 strike. I think he did win a batting title. And I think I just see Bryce Harper trying to do too much right now, and too much to him turns into mid-distance fly balls that are, just not enough. So I think that's part of it too, is it's the frustration in the approach, especially because the table's kind of being set by some of these guys. And, we've talked for years about the all or nothingness of the top of this order. And you bring in Adolis Garcia, who is in that same vein. You bring in Justin Crawford, who's completely different, and that brings a little bit of a breath of fresh air. But then the lineup turns over, and you're right back in the same kind of boat. So I think it is still early. Schwarber has had slow starts before. Bryce certainly last year and in years past has had kind of funks that he then hits himself out of for several months. So we'll see when that happens. It's good to know that they are a 500 team or slightly better when that isn't happening. So they at least have that to kind of prop them up at this point.
If we had a prop bet, which would be used more by Rob Thompson this year? Back of the baseball card or trying to do too much?
Ooh, that's tough. I think back of the baseball card is his emergency. So that's only when he gets pushed. I think he will use the trying to do too much proactively to be like, we got to have guys not try to do too much. He'll say that he'll say that more. I think he'll go to that one a little bit more.
I think I tend to agree.
I think pass the baton is the wild card.
Yeah.
But I actually think they're so far away from pass the baton is kind of like the epiphany when we get to the fall of like, we just got to pass the baton and do it one. And like right now, Bryce is not trying to pass the baton. He's trying to murder the baton, and his timing is off, and the baton's going 300 feet and then falling dead in someone's glove.